Hi there, so today I'm going to be talking about glues, all the different types of glues I use in my shop. Okay, so I use a lot of different types of glues in my shop, and quite often I will mix them as well, so I'm going to go through some of them different combinations of what you can mix and whatnot. But I've sorted them out into 6 basic categories, and what we do is we just go through each different type of glue that I've got on the table here, starting with the one that I use the most, which is wood glue. Okay, so wood glue, as the name would suggest, is for wood. I use wood glue exclusively on wood in my workshop. It doesn't touch anything else in the shop. So let's just say, for example, we want to glue these 2 pieces of wood together. Now they appear to be nice and flat and smooth on the sides here, but if you was to look at these under a microscope, they would have little like cavities in the surface here, and that is what this glue goes into. So it's actually creating a mechanical bond between the 2 pieces there. Now they do come in loads of different variants. This one here is waterproof, and this one here is, I've got a big tub of it, and it's just normal wood glue. But it comes in loads of different variants, different colours as well. I believe in America it has a slight yellow tint to it, but it's pretty much all the same stuff. A couple of things to note: you can clean this with water, so if you use a brush you can use just normal water to clean it, and you can also thin it with water as well. So if you want to get, if it's too thick for whatever you're doing, you can thin it down and mix it with water. Okay, so the next glue is super glue, and I actually use this a lot in my workshop. I like mixing it with wood glue, which I'll talk about in a minute. But this is the kind of glue that once you've got it and you start using it, you start to think, how did I manage without it before? It enables you to work a lot quicker, and it's really, really strong. Now the actual glue here, I have 2 different types of it here, and they come in different viscosities. So this one here is a lot thinner than this one here, and you get them in you can get them that are almost like water, so they literally just pour out, which is good for minor repairs and stuff like that. Or you get ones that are quite thick like this, which actually build up like a fillet of glue around whatever you're gluing. And then going with that, you have this spray here, which is an activator. You don't need this, and quite often I don't use this. But what this is it's just a spray. So going back to these bits of wood here, if we're going to glue these up, you would put your glue on this piece, put the spray on this piece, and then join them together really quickly. And within 10 seconds, that is going to be rock solid. And due to the speed of this glue, this is what makes it really practical to have in your workshop. When buying super glue, all you need to really take note of is on the back here somewhere it will say cyanoacrylate. So yeah, that's super glue. The next type of glue is polyurethane. Now this is a glue that expands with moisture that's in the air. So it sucks the moisture out of the air, or out of moisture that you've added yourself. I have a little spray bottle here where I can actually spray on my own water, and that enables the glue to cure. This can glue much more things together as well. It's obviously good for wood, but it can also glue on the Gorilla Glue on the bottle here. It says stone, metal, ceramics, glass, wood, foam, and more. But yeah, I've actually used this personally myself on wood to metal, wood to plastic. I've glued a couple of different things together, but I always test it before I actually do it. A couple of things to note: this glue obviously expands, so you have to, if I go back to these pieces here, you have to clamp them together throughout the whole curing process. I find this glue is better as well if you've got surfaces not like this, but surfaces that are quite uneven. These are 2 perfectly flat surfaces, they fit together really well, so I would prefer to use wood glue in this scenario. But if I've got 2 rough cut edges that I want to glue together, this is perfect because it expands, it fills out all them little gaps. If you get this on your fingers, you're going to need a solvent or something like that to clean it off, like an acetone or something like that. But putting acetone on your fingers is not the best solution, so I always wear gloves when working with these glues. And what you'll notice here, if you look at the cap, you will see that the glue is actually expanded, and it goes really hard once it's expanded, and obviously it fills out all them gaps in the wood. A couple of things to note: if you leave the bottle open, it's going to get access to the moisture in the air, and it will go off inside the bottle. I've actually lost a whole bottle of this stuff here, which is more expensive than this. and just through leaving it open overnight. Okay, so what I'm going to do now to demonstrate this glue here is I'm going to do a time lapse, and I'm going to do three different tests. I'm going to do one test where there is just the glue, no moisture whatsoever. The second test will be the glue with some moisture, so you can get a direct comparison as to how much the moisture actually affects the drying speed of this glue and the curing speed. And then I will do another test without clamping, so I will put two pieces of wood together, glue them up with moisture, with the spray water here, and we will see how much they push the wood apart away from each other. So I'll just put that on the screen now, take a look at that, and then we'll move on to the next glue. The next category on my list is construction adhesives. So these are more for like job sites and stuff like that, but I have adhesives and sealants in this category. So I've got here, for example, this is a silicone sealer, so it'd be used in like bathrooms for sealing around bathtubs and sinks and whatnot. But it can also be used for glass and stuff like that. So it's something I have in the shop, but I don't use it very often. As you can see, it's still closed. These two here are adhesives, so they are for sticking things together, and they are good because they're very strong, they are waterproof, and they're good for like job sites when you need to stick things to the ground, to concrete, stuff like that. I tend to turn to these guys. And this one here is sort of a combination of the two. This is a sealer adhesive. And it comes in like all different colours like silicone does. You can get it in black, this one here is black, but you can get it in white, transparent, all different types of colours. And this seals like a silicone, but it also sticks to things like an adhesive would. So if I'm going to do anything with this kind of glue or kind of adhesives, I tend to try and use one of these. One thing to note is you are going to need a caulking gun to use these. Obviously this is a pretty standard size, so if you get a caulking gun they're all going to fit, but you're going to need a caulking gun to be able to use one of these. Like I say, I don't use these very often, but I did want to include them because they do sort of come into play every now and then. But yeah, that's construction adhesives and sealants. The next one is epoxy. It's something I use every now and then, but I don't use it all that much. I have these two little pots here of epoxy. It's 50-50, so you mix 50% of this with 50% of this, and it goes off within 5 minutes. That's why it's called 5-minute epoxy. Things it's good for: if you have like a knot in a wood, you can fill up the knot, and you can actually, once this is cured, you can actually sand it down. It goes like plastic, if you like. It goes really hard. It's also good for gluing things together that need to be done quite quick but very strong, but it doesn't take finish very well. So like if you want to stain a piece or oil a piece, this is not going to be the best option. These also come in like a syringe, where there is a syringe with two compartments and it has a special nozzle so that you can actually use it directly out of a syringe and directly on your workpiece. It pre-mixes it in the syringe. And you can also get it in the same sort of tube as these for a caulking gun. You can also get these in different time ratings. So this is 5 minutes, but you can get it in 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, 5 hours. There's loads of different ratings you can get, and it's basically the amount of time you have from mixing it until it's hard. However, that's more for sort of construction grade and not really joinery. So I use it sometimes, that's why I've got it in my list, and that's why I've got it in my shop, but it really is only sometimes. And the next category I have is miscellaneous. So these are glues that don't really fit into any other category, and they don't get used very much. Like for example, this one here. This is Patex. It's like a contact adhesive, and it's good for gluing material or carpet to wood or to other things. A contact adhesive works by putting the glue on one piece, on the other piece, letting it actually dry, so almost cure. So you touch it and you think it's dry, but then when you put the pieces together, the glue actually, the solvents in the glue melt the glue back together. I've also got this, which is Acryfix, and this is a glue for gluing plexiglass together. It actually dries by light, so it needs sunlight to cure, or it needs the UV rays in the sunlight. So you can have a UV light and you can cure it like that. But I tend to just use this outside. Another one I have here is Loctite, which is just for screws. It's not really a glue as such, but I just keep it in with these glues, then I know where it is. Another one here is another plastic glue, which I've used once or twice. And the one I want to talk about the most in this category is hot glue. Now, a lot of people are going to think that doesn't have its place in a workshop, but I really think it does. I use it quite a lot. It's just nice and easy to plug it in and be able to glue something together really quickly. Now, I wouldn't glue a piece of furniture together with hot glue, obviously, but it's good for prototyping things. So if I want to if I'm making a jig or something on the saw, or I'll just glue it together with hot glue really quickly to see if it's going to work before I invest a load of time gluing it together with maybe some polyurethane glue, which is going to take a couple of hours to dry. So yeah, that is something that I like it personally. Me personally, I like hot glue. So yeah, that's the other category that I have, miscellaneous. Another thing I want to talk about is actually mixing glues. So these glues here, I actually quite like to mix a lot. So I've got the wood glue, I've got the super glue, and I've got the polyurethane glue. Now, if you had watched my video a couple of weeks back where I made the keepsake box, you would have seen that I use wood glue and super glue for a lot of that work there. You can see it especially when I glued the letters on. You can see that I used the wood glue by putting little dots on the letters, and then use the super glue doing the same thing. Sprayed the activator on the workpiece and then just placed the letters on to basically instantly glue them to the work. One thing to note when using that combination, I don't like to actually have the glues mixed together. I like the super glue to be separate to the wood glue, and they're next to each other, but they're not actually mixed. So I'm using them in combination with one another to create a strong bond, but not actually mixing them. That is not the case when I use these two. This is the polyurethane glue, or the Gorilla Glue, with the wood glue. Now, as we saw before, the polyurethane glue requires humidity or water to cure itself. And what does wood glue have in it? That's right, it has water in it. So the two actually enable them to cure each other. The polyurethane sucks the water out of the wood glue, which makes the wood glue cure, but because it's sucking the water out, it actually cures itself as well. So they cure each other really well. Another effect of using these two glues is because it expands, it pushes the wood glue further into the pores of the wood. And as I talked about before, getting it further into the pores of the wood is going to make a stronger joint. So yeah, they're the three types of glues that I like to mix. I don't mix any of the other ones. Maybe sometimes I might use hot glue and some other glue. If I'm making a jig and I want it to be a bit stronger, I might do that, but other than that, these are the main ones that I mix. Okay, so I hope you managed to extract some value out of all that. Overall, my personal favourite glue in my workshop of all is the super glue. Obviously, because I'm making projects for YouTube, they need to go quick. I need to be able to make something and finish it in a day sometimes. And this is the glue that enables me to do a lot of that. But this is not just used in projects. I also use it, for example, on little tools around my workshop. This is just a block of wood with some sandpaper super glued to it, and it makes a perfect, just like sanding block. The sandpaper doesn't move and it sticks to the wood really well, and I can sand away with that, and it's like a file that I can just keep placing. For joinery itself, my favourite combination is, as I say, the polyurethane and the wood glue. It's just a great combination. It's really, really strong. And there are obviously a lot of the other glues which I've got here, like the epoxy, the construction adhesives, all of them different types of glues. I don't use them very often, but I do have them when I need them. So yeah, thanks for watching, and like I say, if you like the video, be sure to like and subscribe before you leave. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next week.